What's going on, guys? If you're new here, my name is Layne. Welcome to my channel. I am a nurse and nurse practitioner student, and in this video I've got my tea and I'm extra cozy because we're talking about burnout, and I'm going to be sharing a little bit about my burnout story and how I maneuvered it. So let's get started. So if you're a nurse, and even if you're not a nurse, you probably know that nursing burnout is very, very real. A little bit of background in my career is that I've been a nurse for about 5 years. I started out in intermediate care. It was a hepatology unit. And then after about 2.5 years, I went on to the PACU. And so that's where I was during COVID-19, during the pandemic. And, you know, I'm grateful for the fact that I actually wasn't on the floors with COVID patients. So a lot of times, me and my coworkers, we were getting called off of work. And there was the stress of maybe not having the same financial income that we once did. And then we also were potentially getting trained, cross-trained to go to different units to be able to help out, whether that be ICU or the emergency room or on the floors. So there was the stress of not knowing really what to expect or where we were going to be. So that was kind of some of the cause of the burnout. And then also, as you guys know, I'm also a family nurse practitioner student. And at that time I was working full-time for the first 2 years of that program while also working, and there was some overlap. I think when the pandemic started, I was wrapping up my second semester of my program. So a lot of those things combined led to me feeling extremely burnt out. I started feeling very irritable. I couldn't sleep well. Even though I had a full night's sleep, I was always tired. I noticed that I started being less patient with people, less joyful, like my usual self. And I had a lot of negative thoughts, negative thinking patterns. And I was just emotionally spent. Like, I just felt like I did not have anything else to give to anyone, whether that be patients, friends, family. I just felt like I was gonna scream if I didn't have time to myself to just relax. So it was at that point where I was feeling extremely emotionally exhausted and just kind of numb is when I realized that I really needed to make some kind of change. I knew that something was gonna have to give, or else I wasn't gonna make it mentally. And so one of the first things that I had to do was I started working less. So for me, I couldn't really change how fast I was going through my program, just based on a lot of other factors in my life. So I knew that had to stay. But I decided that I had to pull back from how much I was working. And so for me, that manifested in actually ended up travel nursing for a bit and actually working about the same amount for another 3 months. But I was able to make more in preparation for hopefully being able to work less after that contract. So being able to travel nurse actually gave me a little bit of padding as a student. So then I knew that I could take some time off going forward. And so for me, I'll make another video about kind of how I finessed the financial trials of NP school. But anyway, that allowed me to be able to work less eventually. And so being able to take a step back really helped me to be able to focus on myself and not feel like I was just running all of the time. And another thing I had to do was actually start routinely exercising. And so I knew that physical activity actually helped to decrease anxiety, stress, but I never gave it like my all. But I was at the point where I was like, I need to really invest in this because I don't know what else to do. And so I started actually exercising, doing cardio, doing weightlifting, things like that about 4 times a week, which I know sounds probably really intense, but it was what I needed. And honestly, it did me a world of good. And I was at the point in my burnout and anxiety where I would have like physical chest pain that would be at low levels at all times. It wouldn't always be high, but it was always there. But I noticed that after I was working out, I wouldn't have that anymore. And so if I kept a consistent schedule with exercising, I found that the chest pain actually went away. And so that was something that helped me, as well as exercising also gave me a feeling of empowerment and control, and feeling like when I'm at the end of my rope with trying to finish this exercise workout, like how to kind of keep pressing through even when I felt tired. And for some reason, it helped me mentally to kind of feel like I'm empowered and that I can get through this hard time. I also started prioritizing my sleep. I was not sleeping well. I was maybe getting like, I don't know, for me it was like maybe 6 hours a night. And I know for some people like that's enough, but for me it really was not. And I had to commit to actually having a very consistent sleep schedule. So I was going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time in a way that felt good to me. Like I know I'm a morning person, and so waking up not extremely early, but like earlier than I was on my days off, it really helped me to get in a routine. And I noticed that over the course of about 6 months after starting this, my sleep quality is so much better. And so that was a game changer for me. And then I also had to take a intentional period of alone time where usually I'd be someone who overbooks themselves with social activities because I am such an extrovert, but I was at the point where I knew that I needed some prolonged periods of just being by myself to regain a lot of that emotional reservoir. And that was honestly one of the best things that I could have done. And it's gonna sound weird, but that was one of the benefits of the pandemic for me, where usually before the pandemic, I would have been getting into all types of social activities, but it actually forced me to rest and not be out and about and actually focus on myself and process things. And honestly, that was one of the best things that I could have done, because I think that the pandemic made my burnout worse, but I honestly believe that I was on the road to burnout anyway between all of the stuff that I was doing. Another thing that I got into when I was taking this time to kind of recover was lo-fi music, which I knew about before, but I didn't really listen to it a lot. But for some reason, like turning on lo-fi in the car or when I was studying, it started to be so relaxing for me. And it really just rejuvenated me. Like my anxiety would go down a lot whenever I was listening to lo-fi. And during that time when I was recovering from burnout, I tried to be intentional about listening to that more often, and just try to calm like my spirit and my soul. Another thing I did to try to conquer burnout was spending more time with loved ones. And with the pandemic, this was easier and also harder. At the beginning of the pandemic, I was still living at home with my parents, and so I tried to be more intentional about spending time with them when they weren't working, whether that be like watching movies together or just talking to them and just getting restored. And then with friends, it tended to be a lot more virtual, but we would have Zoom calls, group Zoom calls and things like that. And just being able to laugh with people who really know me and who I love and they love me, and really just take me with the good and the bad. It was very healing for me, for my soul. I also had to make an intentional effort to eat better and try to eat healthier. During like the peak of my burnout, I was definitely eating a lot of fast food, and the stuff that I was cooking was definitely not healthy. It was a lot of processed foods. But when I was intentional about recovering from burnout, I actually started meal prepping a lot more healthier options, making sure that I was getting enough vegetables, and then just being intentional, making sure I'm taking a multivitamin, and that I'm actually getting all of the minerals and vitamins in my diet that I actually should be getting, which I was not doing before. Something that also got me through burnout was hearing the stories of other nurses who have experienced the same thing and how they worked through that. And I did that a lot through listening to podcasts. I listened to a lot of podcasts of nurses trying to figure out where their niche is in nursing and what specialty maybe they need to go to, or if they honestly needed to leave nursing and find something new. It made me feel heard and not alone. The fact that everything other people were saying were things that I had also been feeling, and encouraged me that you can work through burnout, because I was hearing these stories. And another thing that helped was a lot of meditation and prayer. And so by meditation, I mean actually guided meditations. I also downloaded the Calm app. A lot of that came with deep breathing and just learning how to be centered in the present and not worried about what's happening in the future or being fixated on what has already happened in the past. Being mindful of things that I'm grateful for and things that are going on currently, and being grateful for all of the blessings that I do have right now. So that helped me to kind of get centered, as well as a lot of prayer and just diving into my faith. I'm a Christian, and my faith strengthened me so much during that time, and just believing that God was going to get me through that time gave me the endurance to get through times where I really didn't see a way out, and just trusting God that He would make it work out in the end. And lastly, something that really helped me also was finding new hobbies that were not really nursing related, to kind of rest and relax some of those nursing muscles, and school too, honestly. But I got into gaming. I got into a lot of mindful games and relaxing gaming. And if you want to see a video on some of the games that I recommend for nurses, definitely I'll put the link below, as well as the link should be up here too. But that was something that really just helped me to kind of separate from some of the stress that I was going through. And it also helped me to just also combat some of that emotional exhaustion as well. Some other things that I did also were painting. I dabbled with, and I don't do that as much as I used to, but that was something that was very mindful based, and it was creative. And I just noticed that I would be so relaxed after even taking 30 minutes to an hour of just painting something or doing one of those adult coloring books. So that helped. All right, guys, so that is the gist of my burnout story, and that is a brief summary of it. So if you want to hear more about it or you have questions about it, please comment below. I just want you guys to know that this specific cocktail is what helped me, but it might not look like that for everybody else. For some people, you might need to go to therapy or be on medication, and that's fine too. I didn't go that route, and even with the things that I did, it took me about 6 months of being very consistent and intentional about all the things that I talked about. So if you're struggling with burnout and it's been a long time, you're not alone. And I would say if you need help, or you're in a period where you're feeling very depressed or extremely anxious, please look at the resources that I'm gonna link in the description below as well. You're really not alone out there, and if you need help, don't be afraid to ask for it. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. Alrighty guys, I know that was a more serious video just because I know that burnout can be really rough, so I wanted to give it the attention that it deserved. But please comment below if you're someone who has beat burnout, and comment what you've done to help you defeat burnout. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that it encouraged anyone going through burnout. It's gonna be okay. All right, it's gonna be okay. I hope you guys like this video and subscribe. There's gonna be plenty of more content, and hopefully not all of it will be as heavy as this. I don't think so. But I did want to talk about this. So guys, thank you for joining me with a cup of tea, and I will see you guys in the next video. All right.